Unexpected hacker duel revealed. The incredible, touching moment that changed lives forever. Ethan was just a teenager, but he felt like his life was a movie on the wrong channel, a heart-wrenching story of a boy in a tech-savvy town, quietly uncovering a gift he never meant to hide. Shadows clung to him as he walked the bustling streets of Ashwood, lined with sleek stores and tech startups, a world that never accepted the boy who called a diner his home. His mother worked tirelessly at that diner, serving coffee and burgers with a smile, each tip a small victory against the weight of debt. The quiet hum of her sacrifice echoed in their small apartment, reminding Ethan of how much they had to lose. But behind his quiet demeanor lay a mind that danced with electricity. Hacking was his escape, a labyrinth of code and adrenaline where he felt powerful. He dreamt of using his skills to lift his mother from the grind of day-to-day survival. Yet, as Ethan sat in the softly lit glow of his computer screen, visions of a brighter tomorrow often crashed into the harsh reality of judgment he faced daily from his peers. They saw him as just another kid with a troubled family background, not realizing that behind his tired eyes lurked a burning desire to prove his worth. Then, like a jolt of lightning, disaster struck. A wave of malicious cybercrime swept through Ashwood, attacking local businesses and sowing chaos. Essential resources strained further, and as if fate had spun the wheel of irony, his mother's diner became a target. The fear in her voice when she told him, "Ethan, we're barely holding on," churned in his stomach. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the news spread in the town, the fundraiser came into focus, promising to help struggling families like his. Ethan felt the walls closing in. Would he be seen for the boy with skill or the son of a woman battling uphill? When whispers of accusation linked him to the very crimes threatening to destroy his mother's life spread among his peers, it stung like cold rejection. A sharp pain twisted in his chest as he overheard hushed voices murmuring, "Maybe he's not who we thought." During this clash of uncertainty, a shocking truth emerged. The chaos was orchestrated by a tech entrepreneur whose flashy life concealed a darker agenda. As Ethan pieced together clues, an unexpected wave of determination washed over him. He couldn't let this happen. With adrenaline coursing through him, he plunged headfirst into a digital duel, his fingers dancing across the keys, as if defying gravity. Heart pounding, he heard the distant sounds of his mother's laughter filtering through the walls, reminding him of the love they shared, fragile yet enduring. Whatever shadows loomed, Ethan would face them head-on, fueled by a fierce love that pushed aside every ounce of self-doubt clouding his mind. The battle had begun, and Ethan, the underdog, was ready to make his mark, even if the entire town watched with bated breath. As codes clashed like thunder, Ethan stood on the edge of something greater than himself, poised to change the narrative forever. The question loomed, would he be the hero he longed to be, or would he fall to the shadows that had haunted him for too long? Ethan's heart raced as he plunged deeper into the hacker duel, each keystroke igniting a fire within him. The faint glow of the screen illuminated his sweat-slicked brow, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper doubts. But beneath the layers of anxiety pulsing in his veins, there was a growing clarity. It was now or never. He navigated the digital labyrinth with a determination fueled by love. The world outside faded as lines of code flitted past him, and his focus honed in on the toxic, treacherous code meant to cripple his mother's diner. What if he could turn the tables? What if he could disrupt the attack and reveal the mastermind behind it? Come on, Ethan muttered to himself, the crunch of the keys syncopating with the thunder of his heartbeat. He began to trace the origins of the malicious code, hunting for vulnerabilities in its structure. As he worked, memories of his mother's laughter echoed in his mind, wrapping around him like a warm blanket in a storm. He pictured her standing behind the counter, effortlessly juggling coffee cups and orders, a beacon of resilience amidst chaos. But the laughter faded when whispers of doubt crept back in. What if he failed? What if everyone was right to think he was just the son of a diner waitress? A quick breath steadied him. He had to silence those whispers. As Ethan pushed further, he caught sight of a prime piece of the puzzle, a digital signature subtly woven into the malicious code. He felt a chill run down his spine. It belonged to the tech entrepreneur, Jordan Cross, the very man who had destroyed his mother's haven. Recognition sparked within him like a match in the dark. This was no random act. This was personal. Gotcha? Ethan whispered, determination igniting his fingers as he swiftly bypassed the defenses, racing against time. With each line of hacked code he reprogrammed, each digital barrier he shattered, he could almost hear his mother cheering him on. The very notion propelled him forward, igniting a flame of hope amidst the suffocating shadows. Then, just as victory seemed within reach, the screen flickered ominously. An overwhelming wall of countercode surged towards him, threatening to overwhelm his defenses. Panic spiked through him, but there could be no retreat. Taking a deep breath, he recalled the countless late-night videos he had watched of renowned hackers, their fingers flying across keyboards, the lightning juxtaposed with genius. He replicated their speed, weaving a counterattack to combat the influx. Lines of code blurred together as he poured his spirit into each stroke. Time stretched, and the distance between triumph and failure narrowed. Just as his heart started to sink with doubt again, Ethan found the key to break through the wave of opposition. With a decisive hit, he executed a program that would expose Cross's network. Bursts of information poured onto the screen like fireworks, data that would link him to the attacks, evidence that could finally reveal the truth. Emotions crashed into him, joy mingling with wild exhilaration. He felt electric, a warrior in a digital battlefield. But then, the cold clock on his wall brought him crashing back to reality. Would the evidence reach his mother in time? Would it matter if the townsfolk still held onto their doubts? Before he could lose himself in uncertainty again, a new message lit up his screen, breaking through the fog of focus. It was from an unknown user, and it sent a shiver down his spine. You have no idea what you've just stumbled upon, Ethan. Be careful. With his heart racing, he narrowed his eyes. The battle might have changed, but the fight was far from over. What if this was just the beginning of something bigger than he imagined? Who could this unknown user be? Ethan stared at the message, his heart pounding like a drum. The words blared in his mind. You have no idea what you've just stumbled upon. He blinked hard, trying to steady himself. Who was this unknown user? What did they know that he didn't? Was he in over his head? He took a moment to breathe, casting a glance at the clock. It mocked him with its relentless ticking. He couldn't afford to waste time. With renewed resolve, he grabbed his mouse and navigated back to the evidence he'd just decoded. The implications of it all crashed over him like a tidal wave. This was bigger than just saving his mother's diner. There was something darker, something rotten lurking behind the facade of Jordan Cross's tech empire. Ethan's fingers trembled slightly as he clicked through the data, desperate to unravel the full extent of Cross's operations. Each click felt weighted, like stepping deeper into a dark forest where shadows clung to every tree. Suddenly, he stumbled upon something significant, a thread linking Cross not just to the attacks, but to a series of other underhanded dealings that spanned the horizon beyond the diner. Money laundering, fraudulent tech investments, the stench of corruption wafted through the screen, filling his lungs with a sense of urgency. Mom, he whispered under his breath. This was all for her, for their family. He thought of her smile, how her laughter echoed in the diner. She had always believed in honesty, in hard work. This fight was no longer just about saving their business. It was about justice, about putting an end to the face of greed tearing apart their community. But just like that, his resolve wavered. Could he really take on a man like Cross? What if he exposed all this and it backfired? Doubt slithered back into his mind. The clock ticked louder, pressuring him to make a decision. Then, like a spark igniting a flame, Ethan remembered the countless nights spent poring over code, The videos of hackers sharing their triumphs, their tales of bravery. This was his moment. No more hesitation. He typed quickly, throwing together a plan to save his mother's diner and hopefully expose Cross in the process. He sent a quick message to the unknown user, trying to gather information. Who are you? What do you know? His fingers hovered over the send button. This could be a trap, but he needed to take risks. He had to. Click. The message was out there, lost in the expanse of the network, and now all he could do was wait. His eyes flicked back to the evidence on the screen. He gathered his thoughts, thinking about how he could use this information to rally the townsfolk. It was a small community. They needed to stand together against Cross's unscrupulous ambitions. But would they listen? Suddenly, another message popped up from the unknown user. I want to help, but you need to trust me. Meet me at the old library tonight. Bring the data. Ethan's stomach twisted with uncertainty. Trusting a stranger felt perilously risky, but it might be critical. His heart raced at the idea of revealing everything to someone who could potentially help him tear down Cross's empire. As he sat there, conflicted, a surge of determination washed over him. This wasn't just a fight for his mother's diner anymore. It was about standing up against what was wrong, about fighting for the integrity of everyone in their small town. He closed the laptop with resolve. Tonight would determine everything. He had a plan, but now it was all about taking that next step right into the unknown. What would await him at the library? Was he truly ready to unravel a mystery that could change his life forever? The night crept in like a thick fog, wrapping the town in a cloak of mystery. Ethan stood outside the old library, its towering silhouette a reminder of long-forgotten stories. The air was cool, almost eerie, filled with a sense that something monumental was about to unfold. He took a deep breath, heart racing, and pushed the heavy door open, the creak echoing into the darkness beyond. Inside, the musty smell of aged books mingled with the scent of polished wood. Shadows danced along the walls, illuminated only by the weak light of a single lamp at the far end of the room. He squinted, trying to make out who might be waiting for him. A figure emerged from the depths of the library's aisles, a woman, her features obscured by a dark hoodie. Ethan? Her voice was low yet confident. He nodded, his throat suddenly dry, nerves eating away at him. You came. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, he admitted, stepping closer. Do you really want to help? She pulled back her hood slightly, revealing a determined face marked by shadows of her own battles. I know what Cross is planning. I've seen the damage he has done, and I can't just stand by. Ethan felt a spark of hope but quickly masked it with caution. How do you know about all this? She hesitated. I'm part of a group that monitors his ventures. We've been tracking his dealings for years. When I saw your message, I knew you were onto something big. She gestured toward the table, and together they spread out the documents and files Ethan had copied. His heart pounded as he laid bare the evidence of Cross's corruption, the web of deceit sprawling across the table between them. Do you realize how deep this runs? She asked, her tone shifting from supportive to serious. These aren't just illegal practices. They could destroy lives, push families into poverty. Your mother's diner is just a piece of that puzzle. He swallowed hard, the weight of her words slicing through him. What do we do now? She studied the documents, eyes narrowing as she began to outline a strategy. We gather more information. We need to gather enough to make a public impact. Force the authorities to take action. They're more scared of Cross than you think. The air thickened with a mix of fear and determination. Ethan imagined his mother, her laughter echoing through the diner, a haven that could be ripped apart by Cross's ambitions. He couldn't let that happen, he wouldn't. Let us go public then, he said, surprising even himself with the strength in his voice. I'll talk to the townsfolk. We can't let him hide anymore. Not so fast, she warned, a hint of urgency woven through her words. Cross has eyes everywhere. One misstep and he'll crush you. We need to be smart. I'll provide the backup, but you need to help me gather tech evidence. With this new alliance, adrenaline surged through Ethan, pushing the doubts aside. Together, they could be unstoppable. As they worked late into the night, piecing together the layers of deception, an unexpected noise came from outside, a loud crash, followed by voices. Ethan's heart sank. They were coming for him. Quick, he urged, gathering the papers. We have to hide. They ducked behind a row of shelves, their breaths held tight in their throats. The voices grew louder, filling the library with an air of impending dread. Ethan's mind raced. Had someone discovered their secret rendezvous? What would happen if Cross's thugs found them? In the shadows, he squeezed the hand of the woman beside him, feeling the connection forged through fear and urgency. This was it. The journey into the heart of darkness was only beginning. Would they manage to escape without being caught? Or would Cross's empire strike back against them before they even had a chance to fight? Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he leaned closer to the woman beside him. The sounds outside grew louder, shouting, crashing, and the unmistakable thump of heavy boots against the wooden floor of the library. He felt a rush of panic but held onto her hand tighter, finding some comfort in their shared fear. Do you think they saw us? He whispered, his voice barely audible. I don't know, she replied, her eyes wide with urgency. But we need to stay quiet. If they find us here. Before she could finish, the door to the library swung open, and a group of men entered. Ethan recognized them instantly, the grim faces of Cross's thugs. They were here to hunt him down, to silence anyone who threatened their boss's plans. He could feel his breath hitch in his throat as he pressed his back firmly against the shelf, praying they wouldn't discover their hiding spot. One of the men started to scan the room, his eyes drifting toward the table where Ethan had laid out the evidence. Split up, the leader ordered, his voice deep and menacing. If that kid's here, I want him found. He can't be far. Ethan fought the urge to panic. He glanced at the woman beside him, who simply nodded, her eyes focused. They were in this together, for better or worse. As one of the thugs stepped closer to their hiding place, Ethan felt his heart race even faster. There was no way out unless they made a move right now. He took a sharp breath, ready to bolt if necessary. Over here, the thug shouted suddenly, pointing at the table. He was definitely here. Look at these papers. Ethan and the woman exchanged worried glances. With their cover blown, they had to act fast. On the count of 3, we run for the back door, she whispered. Ready? Ethan nodded, adrenaline coursing through his veins. 3, 2, 1, go. They dashed toward the back of the library, darting between shelves. Ethan's legs felt like lead, but he pushed himself harder. He heard shouting behind them, heavy footsteps echoing through the stacks, but he didn't dare look back. They reached the back door and flung it open, tumbling into the cool night air. Ethan felt like a deer caught in headlights for a moment, the realization of what they had just escaped rushing over him. Run, the woman urged, pulling him into the shadows between buildings. They sprinted down the alley behind the library, moves guided by instinct and fear. Ethan's mind raced. What now? We can't just keep running. The woman started to catch her breath. We need to find somewhere safe. I have a place we can hide out and plan our next move. Are they still following us? He asked, glancing back to see if the thugs had come through the door after them. We won't know until we stop. Keep moving. We can't afford to get caught. She panted, determination in her voice. They turned a corner and ducked into a small storage shed behind an old hardware store. Its dim light barely pierced the darkness, but it provided the sanctuary they desperately needed. They pressed their backs against the door, breathing heavily. What if we can't find a way to stop Cross? Ethan's voice trembled slightly, vulnerability creeping in as the weight of their situation sunk in. Her eyes met his, steady and fierce. We will find a way. We have to. For your mom and for everyone else he's hurting. This isn't just about us anymore. Ethan nodded, feeling the raw energy of purpose coursing through him again. They could fight back. They had to fight back. Just then, her phone buzzed, cutting through the heaviness of their surroundings. The sound felt like a jolt of electricity. Who could that be? Ethan asked, heart racing again. She glanced at the screen and her expression changed, excitement and fear mixing together. It's my contact from the group. They found something on Cross that might be the key to our plan. Let us see it. Ethan urged, leaning closer, his mind racing with possibilities. As she unlocked her phone, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something monumental. But uncertainty loomed just as heavily as hope. What if this was the break they needed, or would it send them deeper into Cross's deadly grip? The next step could change everything. Her fingers flew over the screen. Ethan watched her, eyes wide, his heart thumping, each pulse filled with hope and dread all at once. What could their contact have found? Just moments before, they were running for their lives, and now they were on the brink of a potential breakthrough against Cross. I don't know how to explain this, she said breathlessly, her thumb hovering over the screen for a second longer. But they've tracked down a hacker who works for Cross. Apparently, he has been digging into all the files related to your mom's case. Ethan's eyes widened. A hacker? Are you serious? If we could get him to help us, we might have a shot at exposing Cross. Exactly, she replied, her voice steadying as her excitement began to build. But there's a catch. He's hiding out in a bunker near the docks. It's heavily protected, and we can't just waltz in there. The reality hit him like a cold splash of water. So we need to break in or at least find a way to meet him. Ethan replied slowly, thoughts darting rapidly. I think we might be able to create a distraction, something to draw their attention away from him. I know a couple of locations nearby where I can set something up, she explained, her brow furrowed with concentration. Ethan's mind raced. They were talking about a group of armed thugs and convoluted networks of corruption. But there was also the spark of a plan igniting inside him. We could do this. If this hacker really is connected to everything, then maybe he can point us to even more evidence against Cross. She smiled, a glint of determination in her eyes. But we have to move quickly. He won't wait for us if it gets too hot. I need you to trust me, Ethan. We're in this together. He nodded, feeling the weight on his shoulders shift from overwhelming despair to a flicker of purpose. Where do we begin? The buzzing sound of her phone cut through the air again, and she quickly glanced at the message. Her eyes widened, and an expression of concern washed over her face. They're getting closer. We might have just seconds before they start searching the area. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine as the realization hit him. Then let us go. We can talk on the way there. They darted out of the shed and back into the alley, adrenaline pumping. The night air was suddenly electric with urgency as they pressed on. Each footfall felt like a battle cry, each breath a reminder of their stakes. As they rounded a corner, Ethan spotted the glow of a street lamp. It illuminated the asphalt, but shadows danced along the nearby walls. The thugs could be lurking anywhere, and the fear throbbed fiercely in his chest. What if they catch us? He muttered, scanning their surroundings. We've come this far. We can't stop now, she said, her voice resolute. We're almost to the safe house. Safe house? You mean you have a place we can wait it out? A flicker of hope crossed Ethan's mind, but his instincts warned him. This could be a trap, a moment of false safety before descending into chaos. Yeah, she confirmed. But we can't stay long. We need to reach the hacker and figure out our next step. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes. As they raced forward, the thumping of their heartbeats mingled with the distant sounds of the city. Each corner they rounded felt like an engagement with fate. In that moment, Ethan was acutely aware of how fragile their lives had become. The uncertainty of survival weighed heavily in the air. Then, just as they approached an innocent-looking warehouse, Ethan froze. The chilling sight of headlights sweeping across the ground turned his blood cold. "They're here," he whispered, an icy claw gripping his throat. "Quick, we need to hide," she urged, looking around frantically. As the sound of the engine roared closer and footsteps crunched on the gravel, Ethan could feel the weight of everything falling on him once again. Would they evade capture, or would this be the end of the line? In that moment, he realized everything was on the line: his mom's safety, their fight against Cross, and the trust that had begun to blossom between them. As they ducked behind some crates, Ethan's heart raced with anticipation. Would they be found? Or would they find a path forward? In the shadows, uncertainty loomed, tighter than ever. Ethan's breath hitched in his throat as they pressed themselves into the cramped space behind the crates. The shadows felt suffocating, almost as if they were closing in, but he knew they had to remain silent. The rumble of the engine grew closer, each thud of his heartbeat matching the rhythm of impending danger. They waited, taut with tension, every second stretching unbearably. Just when Ethan thought he might scream if he heard another footstep, the headlights blasted through the cracked opening between the crates. He could feel his pulse in his ears, drowning out everything else. "Stay still," she whispered, her eyes glinting with fear and determination. He nodded, willing himself to become one with the shadows, to disappear entirely. The footsteps stopped too close for comfort. Ethan could hear the low murmur of voices, harsh and urgent, cutting through the still night air. "Keep searching. He has to be around here somewhere." One of the men barked. Ethan clenched his fists, fighting the urge to bolt. They were looking for them, and he couldn't shake the feeling that their plan had spiraled away from them before it had even begun. "Look over there. This crate looks disturbed," another voice called out, and Ethan's heart dropped. "Search it." His instincts kicked in. He had to act before they found them. "What's our plan?" he whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. "We need a distraction," she replied. Her eyes darted around, and then her gaze fixated on something behind the warehouse, a stack of old barrels. "If I can get over there, I might be able to create a noise." Ethan's heart raced at the thought of splitting up. "Are you sure you can make it?" She looked him straight in the eye, determination etched on her face. "No choice, right? If we don't take the chance," she said, letting the words hang, "everything else lost." He took a deep breath, nodding reluctantly. "Okay, be careful." With one last glance at him, she slipped away into the darkness, her silhouette vanishing like a breath in the void. Ethan forced himself to stay low, his breath coming in shallow, measured sips. He could hear the voices of the men growing muddled, but the sound of her quiet footfalls was far more important. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed movement. One of the thugs was pacing right in front of the crate they were hiding behind. Ethan's chest tightened. He had to hold himself together. Suddenly, there was a loud crash, like thunder in the night. The barrels exploded into motion, rolling and crashing against each other. The thug by the crate jumped back, eyes wide, and shouted, "What the hell was that? Go check it out." Ethan's heart soared as the thugs shifted their focus. He could feel the tension climbing as every second passed without him ever thinking they could be found. Peering cautiously around the edge of the crate, he saw his companion dashing toward him, her face alight with urgency. "Now!" she hissed, and he sprang into action beside her. They both sprinted across the dusty ground, the shadows wrapping around them like a protective cloak. As they dove behind another pile of crates, Ethan's heart raced harder than it had ever before. "Do you think we lost them?" she asked, breathless. "For now," he replied, glancing back toward where the noise had erupted. "But we can't waste time. We need to get to the hacker before they regroup." As they caught their breath, the enormity of their mission lingered in the air like a charged storm. Each moment painted with uncertainty, but also with the weight of urgency. The thought of the hacker, possibly their only way to take down Cross, awaited just beyond the chaos. "Let us head to the docks," she urged, her voice a mix of fear and determination. "We can make it if we stick to the shadows." They took off once more, adrenaline propelling them forward through the maze of night. Each step felt like they were getting closer to the edge of a cliff. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. But just as they reached the mouth of the alley, Evan felt a cold sweat creep down his back. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the moonlight, and his breath caught in his throat. "Wait," he shouted, panic surging through him. The figure stepped closer, and Ethan could almost smell the tension thickening in the night air. It was impossible to tell if they were friend or foe. "What if it's a trap?" she whispered, voice trembling with uncertainty. He swallowed hard. What if this was the moment everything changed? Would fortune favor them, or was it all about to come crashing down? Let us find out, Ethan muttered, heart pounding. How much longer could they dodge fate? Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as the figure stepped into the light. It was a woman, clad in a dark hoodie, her face partly obscured by the shadows but still recognizable. The moment her eyes met his, recognition flickered. "Ethan," she called out, relief flooding her voice, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Maya?" he replied, disbelief washing over him. "What are you doing here?" "I was following a lead on Cross," she said, glancing around nervously. "I didn't expect to find you here." Behind her, the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance, reminding them of the urgency of the moment. "You need to get out of here," Maya urged, her voice low and frantic. "The thugs are everywhere." "They're looking for us," Ethan replied, his mind racing. "We don't have much time." He introduced Maya to his companion, giving her a reason to trust. "This is Lila. We need to reach the hacker before they find us." Maya nodded, her brow furrowing with concern. "I can help. I know this area." Ethan's mind spun with possibilities. With Maya in the mix, their chances improved significantly. But even optimism felt fragile against the backdrop of danger looming behind them. "Then let us move quickly." They slipped into the shadows again, the three of them moving as one. Fear and adrenaline rushed through Ethan's veins, a cocktail potent enough to drive him forward. Each footstep echoed unanswered questions. How badly had Cross retaliated? What lay ahead? They darted around crates and shadows, finding brief cover in alleys and behind stacks of supplies. Maya quickly led them through a series of narrow, winding paths that only she seemed to know, her confidence infectious. Yet, the relief of pressing forward was laced with anxiety, each moment stretching into an eternity. "Why did you start digging into Cross?" Lila asked, her breath coming in quick bursts as they skidded to a stop behind a truck. Maya glanced at Ethan before responding, her voice trembling with urgency. I used to work for him. I realized what he was doing wasn't just illegal. It was wrong. So I left, but he doesn't let people go easily." "You could have been caught," Ethan replied, guilt gnawing at him. "You shouldn't have risked your life for us." "Don't," Maya shot back, steely determination in her eyes. "If there's a chance to take him down, I'll take it even if it costs me everything." As they took off again, those words resonated deep within Ethan. Burdened with the knowledge of their mission and the perils that lay ahead, he wondered if they truly stood a chance against Cross's empire. It was a gamble with stakes higher than any of them had faced before. With every passing moment, the adrenaline only intensified. Rounding a corner, Maya abruptly halted, pointing at the old warehouse just ahead. "That's it. The hacker works from there," she whispered, her voice rising in urgency. Ethan felt a rush of hope. "What's the plan?" "We go in quietly. If we can get to him before the thugs do, we might be able to use his skills to fight back against Cross. Together then," Lila added, her eyes fierce. "We face whatever's inside." Ethan nodded, determination setting. They exchanged quick glances, all three feeling the weight of what came next. But as they approached the warehouse, the faint sound of voices drifted toward them again, angry, urgent. Ethan's stomach dropped. "They're here. We're running out of time." Maya's eyes narrowed. "We can't go back. We have to push forward." With every ounce of courage they had, they moved toward the entrance, hearts pounding in unison. This was it, the point of no return. As they paused just outside the door, a sudden thought struck Ethan. What if the hacker isn't who we think he is? The questioning hung in the air, and for the briefest of moments, doubt crept into the edges of their resolve. Would they walk into a trap? Taking a deep breath, Ethan turned to his friends, his voice steady. "No matter what happens, we stick together." Maya smirked. "You got it. We're in this fight together." And with that, they pushed through the door, ready to confront whatever awaited them inside. But as the cold air rushed in, a shadow flickered past the warehouse window, a reminder that danger was closer than they'd ever anticipated. Would they seize their moment, or would it slip through their fingers like grains of sand? The heavy door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior that smelled of dust and something more metallic. Ethan led the way, his heart racing as he pushed past a stack of old equipment. Lila and Maya followed closely, their eyes darting around, scanning for threats. The air was thick with tension, each shadow a potential danger. They moved inside, every creak of the floor sounding like a thunderclap in the oppressive silence. Ethan strained his ears, trying to pick out voices from the back of the warehouse. "Stay sharp," he whispered, even though they all felt the same anxious energy pulsing through them. As they crept deeper into the building, Maya pointed to a door at the far end, its frame sagging. "That's where I think the hacker is," she mouthed, her eyes locked onto the target. Ethan nodded, adrenaline sharpening his focus. They had to be quiet. If anyone caught wind of their presence, anything could happen. As they approached, a low voice floated through the door, punctuated by the sound of clacking keys. "Come on, where are you?" it murmured. "What if he's working with Cross?" Lila whispered, a hint of worry creeping into her tone. "Let us find out," Ethan replied, steeling himself. Before he could second-guess himself, he pushed the door open. The hacker's face flickered in the screen's glow, a young man hunched over a keyboard. He didn't seem surprised to see them, his eyes widening slightly before narrowing again. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, the question mixing with curiosity. "Maya sent us. We need your help," she blurted, stepping forward. "Help? From me? Why would I help anyone, especially if Cross is involved?" "Because," Ethan interjected, feeling the weight of the moment on his shoulders. "If Cross finds us first, we're all dead. You understand what he does, right? We're here to stop him." The hacker paused, glancing between the three of them. His demeanor shifted slightly, uncertainty mingling with his initial defiance. "And why should I care?" Maya stepped closer, her voice firm. "Because Cross is a monster. And if you keep helping him, you're just as guilty as he is. You've got skills that could make a difference. Help us take him down before he gets the chance to come after you." For a heartbeat, the hacker seemed to weigh her words. Ethan could see the flicker of internal conflict on his face. "What's your plan?" he finally asked, a hint of resolve in his voice. "First, we need to figure out how to blind Cross's eyes for good," Lila replied. Her confidence was infectious. "If we can disrupt his operations financially, it will slow him down. You can help us hack into his systems." The hacker leaned back, contemplating. "You sure you can take this on?" "There's a reason I've stayed on the sidelines." Ethan felt a surge of frustration. "We don't have a choice. We need to know if you're with us. Lives are at stake." There was a moment of silence, a shared understanding that lingered in the charged air. Then the hacker nodded slowly, determination beginning to spark in his eyes. "All right, I'll help. But you need to promise if things go south, we bail. I'm not about to get caught up in Cross's mess." "Deal," Ethan said, relief flooding through him. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, a loud crash erupted outside the warehouse door, a painful reminder that they weren't safe yet. Panic flared in everyone's eyes as footsteps rushed toward them, heavy and deliberate. "Get ready," Maya shouted, fear igniting a fire in her. Ethan felt his heart racing again. They had a plan, but time was running out. Would they be able to stop Cross's thugs? Or had they just walked into a death trap? Would they escape alive with the hacker's help? Or would Cross claim them one by one? They were on the brink of something that could change everything. But with danger encroaching, the challenge wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trusting each other when it mattered most. And as they stood there, ready to face whatever was coming their way, Ethan's mind raced with the thought, would this be the moment they would finally take a stand against Cross? The cacophony of boots pounding against the ground sent shockwaves of panic through Ethan's body. He exchanged frantic glances with Maya and Lila. Their hearts drummed in unison, echoing the urgency of their situation. There was no time to waste. "Let us get the evidence," Maya shouted, pointing to a desk cluttered with monitors and drives. "We need to gather what we can while we can." Ethan darted toward the makeshift station, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "I'll download everything related to Cross's transactions," he said, frantically clicking keys as the hacker stood beside him, eyes wide with disbelief. Wait, you can't just dive in like that. You need to secure the data first or... The hacker's protest was cut off by the crash of wood splintering against metal as the thugs forced the door open. Hide! Lila hissed, pulling Maya behind a nearby shelf while Ethan hastily yanked the drive from the USB port just as the screen flashed a warning. He barely slipped behind the desk before a group of thugs barreled in, scanning the room with malicious intent. Where are they? One of the men growled, fist clenched tight around a flashlight. Ethan barely breathed. He could see Maya, her expression solid as she pressed against the wall, and Lila, readying herself for whatever came next. If they didn't act fast, they'd be trapped. Keep an eye out, the thug shouted, standing squarely in front of the desk, blocking Ethan's exit. They can't have gone far. It was a standoff and tension gripped the air. Ethan's mind raced, pulling together scraps of confidence. We're not done yet. An idea flickered to life. If I can get a distraction. Just as the thugs focused on their surroundings, Ethan seized the initiative. Adrenaline sparked within him, propelling him to make a move. He flipped a small switch on the hacker's desk, powering up the old computer rig. Bright lights flickered to life, filling the room with a deafening whir. "Hey!" one of the thugs shouted. "What's happening?" That was Ethan's cue. Gathering every ounce of courage, he bolted from behind the desk, shouting, "This way! Come and get me!" He dashed toward a side door, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Behind him, he heard the heavy footsteps surge forward in pursuit. "Go! Go!" Maya yelled, and he knew she wasn't too far behind. They all tore through the door he dashed towards, plunging into the dim alley behind the warehouse. With no time to catch their breath, they sprinted as hard as they could, zigzagging through the chaos of the night, their feet pounding against the pavement. "Over there," Lila yelled, pointing to an old industrial dumpster. "We can hide there." They dove behind it, breaths heavy and ragged, pulsing with adrenaline. Ethan felt the adrenaline pumping fiercely through him. The sounds of shouts and footsteps faded into the distance. "Did we lose them?" Lila asked, her voice shaking. "For now," Maya panted, eyes wide as she surveyed the area. "But we can't stay still for too long. We need to get back to the hacker and finish what we started." Ethan nodded, the importance of their mission igniting a fire within. "We have the data. We're so close. But we need to head back quickly before they regroup." They crawled out from behind the dumpster, and as they reached for the street corner, Ethan heard the distant hum of approaching engines. His heart sank. "We can't go back that way. We have to loop around." He grabbed Maya's hand, leading them down side streets, desperation fueling each hurried step. Just then, Ethan felt a tap on his shoulder, turning to find the hacker standing nearby, breathless. "I made it. I can help you two find the path back." Together, they snaked through alleyways, hearts racing as the city's lights blurred past them. The stakes were now higher than ever. "So what's the plan?" the hacker asked, determination lighting his eyes now. "We need to take them down and expose Cross once and for all." Ethan glanced at Maya and Lila, both nodding in agreement. "We can start with a public announcement. We have the evidence. If we rally the town, everyone will see the truth. That's risky. Cross has many eyes on him," the hacker warned. "But I know how to mask our access points. We can do it without drawing too much attention, just enough to hit him where it hurts." Lila squeezed Ethan's hand. "This is it. We have to be brave. For the diner. For your mom." He felt a swell of courage, strengthened by the love of his friends. They were in this together, and nothing could break them. As they emerged from the last set of shadows into a small park that overlooked the docks, Ethan felt the weight of their decision settle in. They were staring down the barrel of a storm, but he wasn't afraid. They entered the fray, and now there was no turning back. "I know where we can broadcast the information," the hacker said, his eyes scanning the area. "A small setup I have in my apartment. It's just a few blocks away." "Lead the way," Ethan urged, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and determination. With newfound resolve, they started to move again, each step a testament to their fight. They wouldn't back down. they would rise up against Cross together. Tonight would mark the moment when they would finally confront everything that had stood in their way. Ethan could feel it building inside of him, a pulse of stringing victory. As they reached the hacker's apartment, it was as if the weight of the world lifted momentarily. They had a plan, they had each other, and above all, they had hope shining brightly at the end of their journey. Together they would take a stand, rising up to change the narrative and reclaim their lives. Everything was at stake, and this time they were ready to face whatever came next. And thus began the extraordinary journey towards exposing the truth, changing lives, and shining a light into the heart of darkness. To everyone watching this isn't just the conclusion. It's a call to action. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter of this inspiring adventure. Hit that like button now to keep the momentum going, and comment below with your thoughts on Ethan's incredible journey, and how you would feel uniting against a challenge like Cross. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Your support means everything, and only true fans understand that. Join the movement and let us keep making an impact together.